bookshelf. The writers that we have here tonight have all approached conflicts from very different angles. They've written about the problem about writing about conflicts in the form of Maddie's new novel, Dogs at the Perimeter. She's gone headlong into the Cambodian genocide in a rather fearless way, and Priya has done it through the refractory angle of relationships, which in some ways can be a very intimate way to capture the swell of history.
As the plane rose above the clouds, Lena was sure that luck, happiness, love, all the things that mattered, could not be measured in relation to anyone else's experience. The private sphere is bigger than the public. It always has been. That is why lovers can rejoice during a war, why a birth is celebrated during famine, why siblings play heedlessly in fields where their ancestors were maimed. Even those on opposite sides of a public divide can end up defying convention or risking death out of their own personal conviction. The past is dotted with acts of humanity, instances of individual benevolence between seeming enemies, Tutsi and Hutu, Muslim and Hindu. Lena held this thought with a kind of shame, knowing what she did, that the public can eclipse, degrade, and destroy the private.
They kept him blindfolded all the time. Once, when they took the blindfold off, they asked him to identify tablets they had found in his bags. The samples were pink, like cotton candy at the Pacific National Exhibition Fairgrounds, like orchids, a pink that seemed foolish and innocent in this burnt, exhausted landscape. "These are vitamins," he said. He answered them in Khmer, and they said he was a spy, and he said, "No, I am not." "Where are you from?" "Japan, Tokyo." "Where's your passport?" "Lost." "Why are you here?" "To treat the wounded." "The wounded," they said, taunting him. "You mean the Lon Nols, the traitors?" He shook his head vehemently. "I treat the people hurt by American bombs." They covered his eyes and returned him to darkness. With the blindfold on, he felt absurdly safe. They surrounded him, bare feet on the thirsty ground, rifles smartly reloaded, the smell of a campfire. He heard someone getting a haircut, the scissors stuttering like a solitary cricket. He heard a fire starting and water boiling. He ate mushy gruel with his hands. He itched all over from the ants in the dirt. His tongue felt cracked. Night and day his feet were shackled. He had to piss into a foul bamboo container. He was constipated and everything hurt. He couldn't believe it was possible to be scared so long, to have his heart solidify in mute fear, and yet to continue day after day. Sometimes in his fantasies he sits at his father's bedside. The blinds let in whiskers of light, and he can see his father's right hand curled on the sheet, the skin over the knuckles flaccid and pale. He finds the doctors loud and the nurses kind, and nobody really looks at him, not even his parents. James tells himself it's not possible to disappoint the dead. All that matters to the living is the living. That's what he had tried to explain to Soria after her brother disappeared. This is war, not a game. If you have the chance to escape, you have to take it. If I go missing, don't sit around like a fool. He had felt like a hero when he said this. But why waste words? Grieving Darvid, she had barely seemed to notice him. She just sat in the apartment, thinking and reading, cleaning, cooking, disappearing. She didn't need his devotion, and this independence, her strength, made him feel confused and shiftless. It made him feel temporary, like an insect clinging to a drain.
I think sometimes these kind of stories, they take our attention and energy in a way that makes us forget what the essential questions of human existence are. And maybe we don't always have to focus on that big conflict, but we focus on kind of the everyday to remind ourselves of, why we're alive, and also to remind ourselves of the amazing spectrum of possibilities that are there when you live a normal, peaceful life. Because war distorts. It distorts our perceptions, and it distorts our sense of what it is to be alive. And I think literature doesn't always have to nod to that.